Before I built this, I hired 3 lead generation agencies. Every pitch opened the same way. We guarantee 30 appointments. Different cities, different decks, same sentence. I remember thinking how reasonable it sounded. 30 is a modest number. Nobody promising 30 is trying to con you. What arrived was a spreadsheet. By the end of this, you'll know exactly why that spreadsheet was worthless. The 3 gates that turn a name into a call worth taking. And the one sentence no agency will ever sign. Names, numbers, a column that said interested, based on what? Nobody could ever tell me. People who had never heard of me, people with no budget, one gentleman who asked whether I was selling insurance. And I want to be fair here because this is the part that took me longest to understand. The agency delivered exactly what they promised. 30 appointments, it was on the invoice. It was in the contract. The word appointment was doing an enormous amount of work in that sentence, and I hadn't noticed. The agencies got paid for the spreadsheet. I paid for the lesson. Here's the lesson, and it's the whole video. A lead is not a call. A call is not a qualified call. 3 completely different things sold to you at the same price under names deliberately close enough to blur. Every agency in this market survives inside that blur. They sell you volume of the cheapest possible unit, then let you discover the difference yourself at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, on your fourth no show of the week. And you'll blame yourself for that, by the way. That's the really expensive part. You'll assume your pitch was off, or your niche is hard, or you're just not built for this. It wasn't your pitch. You were handed strangers and asked to convert them. So we count exactly one thing, a qualified call, and it has 3 gates. Every single one has to be passed in order before anything appears on your calendar. Gate 1. They watched your video. So they arrive knowing your method, your approach, and roughly what this costs. The entire "so tell me what you do" section of your call is already finished before you say hello. Gate 2. They confirmed budget in writing, not implied, not "we'll discuss investment on the call." A form field, a real question, their answer typed in with their own hands, which means the sentence you dread, "and what does it cost?" followed by the flinch, has already happened without you in the room. They've already flinched or already accepted on their own time. Gate 3. They picked the slot themselves. Nobody chased them into it. No setter negotiated them into a Tuesday. They looked at real availability and chose. That third gate is the one that fixes show rates, and almost nobody builds it. A slot someone picked for themselves is a commitment. A slot a setter talked them into is an obligation, and people skip obligations. Miss one gate. Anyone. And they never touch your calendar. That is the entire difference between our 150 and their 30 appointments. Their appointment is a name that agreed to a time. Ours is a person who has already seen your offer, already stated they can afford it, and already chose to give you their Thursday afternoon. Those are different species. They just happen to occupy the same rectangle on a calendar. So the obvious question, if gates are this important, why doesn't everyone build them? Because gates are bad for their business model, not for yours, for theirs. Think about what a gate does to an agency's monthly report. It lowers the number they get to send you. Their dashboard looks worse. Your bank account looks better. And you are not the one they're optimizing for. An agency's product isn't your revenue. It's a number in an email at the end of the month, big enough that you renew. Gates shrink that number by design. So almost nobody builds one. And the ones who do have to explain themselves constantly, which is what I'm doing right now. Our form rejects roughly 8 out of every 10 people who touch it on purpose. Say that out loud in an agency sales meeting and watch what happens. But run it from your side of the table. Every rejection is 40 minutes of your life handed back. 10 applicants, 8 filtered out, and you've just been given more than 5 hours you were going to spend being polite to people who were never going to buy. 5 hours a week given back to delivery or to your family or to the 2 conversations that actually matter. That's not a smaller number. It's a completely different product. Since you'll get pitched again next week, here's how to test any agency in about 4 minutes. Ask them to define an appointment precisely. What has to be true before it counts? If the answer contains interested, warm, or engaged, that's a spreadsheet. Those words have no test attached. Then ask what percentage of applicants they reject. If the answer is zero or they've never measured it, they have no filter. You are the filter. You just haven't been told that yet. Then ask who does the follow up and on which channels and for how many days. If the answer is that they will send you the leads and you can follow up, then you did not buy lead generation. You bought a list and you're the sales team. And finally, ask what happens if they miss. Not what's your refund policy. What is the consequence written down in the contract? If you've paid for a spreadsheet before, the link is below. It's the shortest scoping call you'll sit through. Which brings me to the last question. And the reason I built this the way I did, here's what no spreadsheet vendor will put in writing. Getting 150 qualified calls on your calendar this month is free if we don't deliver them. 150 qualified budget confirmed calls in 30 days, or the month costs you nothing. Signed before you pay anything, not discovered afterwards in clause 14. Notice the shape of that sentence: a number, a deadline, a consequence that lands on me. We can write it because we've built this 119 times. I'm not predicting an outcome. I'm reporting one, and I know what day 21 looks like the same way you know what week 6 of your program does to a client. So take that sentence to the next agency that messages you, ask them to phrase their promise in exactly that format: a number, a deadline, a consequence they carry. Most of them can't, and it isn't always dishonesty. Usually they genuinely don't know what their system produces because they've never controlled every gate in it. They're guessing with your money, and they've built their pricing so that the guess costs them nothing. The silence you get back will tell you everything you need to know. It's the cheapest due diligence available to you. And one more practical thing, because you'll be reading someone's report next month either way, a spreadsheet report tells you volume, names delivered, interested tags, maybe a cost per lead. A real report tells you conversion at every gate. How many watched the video and how far through? How many reached the budget question and how many answered it? Honestly, how many booked? How many showed? That's 4 numbers that let you find the actual leak in an afternoon. If show rate drops, the problem is at gate 3, the reminder sequence or the slot selection. If bookings drop but budget confirmations hold, the calendar is the issue, not the traffic. If nobody finishes the video, the offer or the hook is wrong, and no amount of extra spend will rescue it. You cannot do any of that diagnosis with a list of names. That's the difference between buying leads and owning a system. One of them tells you what happened, the other one tells you why and lets you fix it by Thursday. If a friend rang me tomorrow and said an agency had just pitched them 30 appointments, here's exactly what I'd say. Don't argue about the price. Ask for the definition. Make them write down what has to be true before a call counts, what percentage they reject, who follows up and for how long, and what happens to them if they miss. 4 questions, 4 minutes. If they answer all 4 cleanly, take the meeting. I mean that. And if they can't, you've just saved yourself a quarter and an invoice. And you will recognize the spreadsheet before it arrives instead of after. I paid 3 agencies to learn that a lead, a call, and a qualified call are 3 different products with one name. That tuition was expensive and slow, and there's no reason for you to enroll in it. 3 gates: watched, confirmed, self-booked. Everything else is a spreadsheet with better formatting. highticketengine.com. 30 minutes, your numbers, and honest answer. No spreadsheet has ever signed that sentence. We put it in the contract.